All right, good afternoon, everybody. You guys can see my screen, right? This is giving me issues for a second. Yes, you can. No, only my picture. Wait, really? Okay, cool, thanks. Okay, cool. Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by myself or placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Please pause the video, read this disclosure in full, and position disclosure, nothing new in the swings from today. Okay, so let's talk about today. So, SPY, the market, S&P gave us a Doji today, which is more or less what we were expecting. So after yesterday's day of destruction, day one down, breaking this uptrend, breaking this chart, breaking this improvement that we were seeing from the 390 low. Oh, that's interesting on PayPal. Anyway, so after yesterday's day one, if you remember yesterday afternoon, we were basically saying, okay, so the chart was broken. I mean, it was the worst day for the S&P since June of 2020, so in literally over 2 years. Typically, off after day ones, you don't want to go for, and you usually don't get a big day two. I'm sure you guys have often heard Derek say, I don't like buying day twos, be careful on day twos, be careful looking for a day two. It just typically doesn't happen for whatever reason. The way I think about it is just being not that like retail traders are dumb, but like being like a dumb retail trader like I once was back in the day. You get like a big day like this when everything crashes, and then you say, oh my god, like that was so terrible and crazy, like I'm gonna short everything tomorrow. And vice versa, you get like a big up day, a big day one up day, and you say, wow, everything went up so much and was so great, like I'm gonna buy everything tomorrow. And then you come in the next day and you try to go for the same day too, and you chop around and you get chopped up, and you get pretty much a day like today. So that's pretty much what we were looking for today. I wasn't necessarily looking for like a perfect doji or anything, but basically we were saying we probably shouldn't have another huge down day right away on a day two. So bulls should be able to hold 390. Maybe they poke it, maybe not, but we should be able to hold 390. But it's also very, very unlikely unless some news comes out. Maybe PPI is a bit of a catalyst, which it wasn't really a catalyst at all. PPI was, for the most part, in line. I mean, it's still up there in terms of numbers, but it did cool off month over month, and last month, July, cooled off as well. So PPI a bit better for the picture for the bulls than CPI was, that's for sure. But definitely not a perfect world there. But short of any kind of like miraculous news coming out, it's very, very unlikely that we just negate this candle, SPY goes back up and closes above 400. So that was kind of the scenario we were working with today, which really gave us kind of a nothing doji day, right? Like, shouldn't have a big day two down. It's not probable, so we should be able to hold 390. It's also very improbable that we just negate this candle and go right back up. So where does that leave you? Somewhere in the middle here. And that's exactly what we got with a doji day for SPY. Pretty brutal, maybe not brutal, but just like really nothing to do here for SPY. We open, we trade down, we trade through the highs, we roll over. We actually poked, in hindsight, this could have been an okay long, the way we poked yesterday's lows and went right back up. But not that that really paid, and you still would have gotten stopped out eventually there. But rolled over a little bit, poked yesterday's lows, no follow through at all, right back up. That's when you take the other side of the trade, when you're supposed to do something, you're supposed to break down, you're supposed to break up. through a level and you don't. Right back up through yesterday's lows, SPY, and then we just have range-bound action, right? So like you look like you're gonna break down, you break up, SPY gets to new highs, you look like you should break up, you fail, you come back down, can't really break down, can't really break up, roll over a little bit, make a new low, only to just poke those lows and then come right back up and give us a doji day. So really just a nothing day overall, for at least for the S&P, which overall is bearish. Sellers, again, they couldn't really take us down too hard, but it's fairly unlikely for that to happen on a day two. But at the same time, obviously, buyers not really stepping in either. And again, overall, it's bearish, right? Like, you could almost think of this as a bear flag where yesterday, including yesterday's pre-market action, was kind of like this huge flagpole, and then we just went sideways for a day, right? So like kind of like a big bear flag. So a rest day in a downtrend below moving averages that are sloped down, that is bearish. So where does that leave us going? I guess let's take a look at the Qs and the IWM real quick, see if anything looks different. Q's a bit stronger of a finish, but still an inside day, definitely not an impressive bounce. And then IWM, hammer candle actually. So IWM lost yesterday's lows worse, but ended up closing decently with a hammer candle there. So not a bad candle for IWM, but definitely not a fantastic close either. A fantastic close would have been closing over 185 there. So more or less the same picture all around. So where does that leave us going forward? Actually, let me talk about that after. So we did have, even though there was not much to do for SPY in general today, the market, if you were trying to trade SPY, you probably had a bit of a headache day. There definitely was some movement and some things to do out there, and I think we did a pretty dynamite job, for lack of a better word, finding some of those movements. So what do we look at from this morning? Some of them I did, some of them I missed, some of them you guys did. I'm sure some of them you missed. Can't catch them all. That's just how it goes. So some of the names from our list this morning was Starbucks 90. Starbucks had an investor day yesterday. They had some pretty positive things to say. They're trying to expand their business over in China. They actually said yesterday that they're going to build a Starbucks in China they said something like every 9 hours for the next 3 years. So expanding business over in China. They talked about getting their stock buyback back online, I think next year, but just a pretty positive reaction to their investor day yesterday. And you can see that from the relative strength in the candle from yesterday when pretty much everything else got destroyed. So Starbucks 90 we were looking at this morning. I think some of you guys caught this and some of you guys missed this. I missed this one. If you weren't focused on it right off the open, you probably missed it. It was very, very fast. So literally, like, if this wasn't on your level 2 and it wasn't your main focus right off the open, you probably missed it. But there's always going to be more. So, don't worry about missing a trade. Better to miss a trade than to lose on a trade, right? But so Starbucks 90 we had in our radar this morning. That definitely worked pretty well. Tesla, I went on and on and on yesterday about the relative strength and how impressive the relative strength from Tesla was yesterday. And basically we said look for 294, 295 to buy back Tesla if the market wants to hold up today, which, again, the market wasn't even that great today. I guess Qs were a little bit better, but that relative strength is a real phenomenon, right? So Tesla on that trade, either, again, back through 294, which was the pre-market high, or back through this 295 level. That certainly paid really well. You arguably could even be swinging this Tesla if you nailed that today. I had a pretty good price, but I'm not swinging it. I did sell all of that just because I don't really know with this market. But so Tesla paid pretty well. Fro was one. I think Jerry brought this Fro up, Fro 13. This also closed pretty well. And this was also one where if you weren't focused on it pretty early, you might have missed it. Similar to Starbucks, 13 just open, boom, right through 13. You get a very nice follow through and holds up well throughout the day. So Fro 13, I think that was Jerry that brought it up. Shout out to Jerry. If it wasn't Jerry, whoever brought it up, shout out to you. Let's see what else. There's a lot of good plays that we had this morning. SoFi we said needs to hold 590 and watch 6. This was okay. 590 did hold, actually pretty much the low of the day right there, 590. So we said SoFi needs to hold this 590. It did. Paid okay. This is like a slower, thicker name though, so I guess this is a pretty decent day for SoFi. But SoFi, that's somewhat paid today, and you probably could be holding some versus today's low as well. PayPal 97, this one was not great. This tried to go through 97 a couple times and ended up failing, and then eventually very slowly and grindily got through 97 and then rolled back over with the market and then retook 97 actually for a pretty solid close there. But don't worry because there's still levels to buy. So PayPal, we were on 97 this morning. 98 is a level as well in this PayPal, 98. And then after 98, you got 99. And then after 99, you got 100. So still some levels to clear in this PayPal, but this chart certainly does not look bad at all compared to the market, that's for sure. So PayPal, even if you think you might have missed it today, I don't think you did because we can still watch this tomorrow for that 98 buy. But PayPal was okay. What else did we have? Let's see. CCJ and DNN. So this DNN had some news this morning. This didn't really go at all, though. We were watching this 140 cheaper name. That didn't really go at all. CCJ somewhat paid. CCJ we were watching 30, just purely off. DNN had some news, which is a uranium name, and then the CCJ chart was looking pretty nice here. So 30 broke pretty early on in the day. Pretty slow and grindy, and then we said watch 30-50 for confirmation. So here's this 30, and then you can see this 30-50 a bit better for clearing out for confirmation, which this bumped its head up against 30-50 in 5-minute extension, came back down, and then cleared that 30-50, rolled all the way back over, probably stopped a couple of you guys out, and then closed okay. So I think we can still watch this 30-50 going forward, maybe even for tomorrow for CCJ. And if not, then this 31 is going to set up as a level 2. But CCJ, not too bad. What else? New was a short idea. New came out with a lowered guidance this morning. It was not earnings, just preliminary guidance announcement. We said to watch New either a short versus 130 or below 127, which below 127 would basically be breaking this pivot. And both of those works pretty well. I think a couple of you guys caught this. If I remember pre-market, this was trading below 130, and then it looks like right before the open, they popped this back up and actually gave you a chance to get stock at 130. So New right down through 130. If you miss 130, we had the 127 level, which this came down to the 127, bear flagged 127, and then broke that down. So that was another fantastic short play, actually, based off their lower guidance for New. And what else? Am I forgetting anything else? No, I don't think so. A couple other names that didn't really work too well. Square 66. Square had a double downgrade this morning, but this actually held 66 support, which, I mean, that's what happens, right? You think a level's going to break down because it's support and it should break down, but the 66 actually did end up holding. You can see the 66 from back here was resistance for a while, and then finally grinded up over that 66, came back over here, tested the 66, And then today almost broke it down, but just couldn't quite do it. Again, probably partially because the market was really in like a range bound type day here. So that didn't really work. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple others, but that's pretty much it. But overall, I think not a pretty solid day for the market, but definitely a decent day for us. Hopefully you guys made some money today. Hopefully you guys caught a couple or even just one of those names, because there was definitely some opportunity out there. So hopefully you guys caught a couple things. So where does that leave us going forward? So now it becomes the question is, well, so one, we have more economic numbers tomorrow. We have unemployment claims, which, whatever. But then we have retail sales as well, which could move the market a little bit. Usually doesn't too much, but this market is extremely sensitive to economic data these days for obvious reasons. So we have economic numbers tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning, retail sales, and then actually Friday at 10 a.m. we have Michigan University of Michigan sentiment. But so retail sales tomorrow morning. The question is going to be pretty much the same question that we had, not necessarily on this day because it was extension to the downside, but on these days, is 390 going to hold or not? This chart is certainly looking bearish for sure, right? We're in a downtrend. We're below moving averages that are sloped down. So one would technically think that this 390 is going to break down at some point, probably sooner than later. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, maybe in a couple more days. Once this, if we just chop around a little bit more and this daily ADMA can come down to 395, that should be enough to push us down. And then on the other hand, on the bullish side, if we don't break 390 down, we could eventually squeeze back up. And the bulls have to again get over 402. 400's big, but 402, which is actually also the highs of these big days over here. This high is 401 and change. This high is 401 and change. This high is 403. The open's 401 or 401.80, 402. So SPY has to get and close back above 402 for the bulls to feel confident again, in my opinion. But bears can't be celebrating per se until 390 breaks. So we're a bit in the middle here, right? Between buyers and sellers, between bulls and bears, between support and resistance. Again, PPI was like kind of a nothing really today. The data was decent. It wasn't anything special, but it did cool off a little bit. It is heading in the right direction, unlike CPI and core CPI, which is totally not heading in the right direction at all. But so we'll see how the economic numbers treat us tomorrow morning, and we'll see how these levels play out. You can't... It's just too hard to predict a breakdown of this 390 for now. If we trade down to 390 and break it down, I'll be ready to hit that short button. But I don't think you can really short right here in, predicting that 390 is going to break down. I just think it could go either way, really. We still got to get back above 402. Hard to predict that as well. And statistically, probability speaking, that's probably not going to happen based on this day one, based on this big candle. But this day one should indicate a breakdown of 390. So if we get another couple days, another 1, 2, 3 days where 390 doesn't break down, the probabilities of us squeezing back up grow higher and higher. So we'll just see how this develops over the coming days. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'll be ready for either way. But definitely harder to predict which way this is going to break. But if I had to pick one way or the other, I would probably pick the bearish side, just purely based on technicals, right? Big day one down, slope down moving averages. Technically speaking, we should break this 390 down. But again, for like the third time, if we get another 1 to 2 to 3 days where 390 is supposed to break down and 390 doesn't break down and we can't get a close below 390, you can start to probably feel a bit better about actually trying to buy versus 390 again for a squeeze to come in. So we'll see how that develops. And I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. I don't think so, though. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to talk about. So a couple solid individual stock plays today that some guys definitely hit. Market overall didn't really give us too much. Not really much of a signal. It's definitely bearish, but again, we are still holding support. So we have bearish technicals that are still holding support. So, we'll see if the support continues to hold or not. And yeah, that's all I really got to talk about. So happy to answer any questions, comments, concerns, complaints that you guys have for me. Wouldn't be surprised if there's not too much else you guys want to talk about, because again, there wasn't really too much today. It's kind of just most people waiting to see how this is going to break one way or the other, and you got robots and buyers and sellers trying to place their bets now, fighting each other, and we're kind of just standing back on the sidelines waiting to see who's going to win, waiting for confirmation. This market is very conflicting, it's very loose, it's very illiquid. I think it's harder to make those predictions, and I'd rather it's been better to wait for confirmation for the most part, especially when, again, we're bearish technically, we're not extended to the downside, we're not overcooked to the downside, support is still holding, but we have a bearish candle to go off of. So again, it's pretty neutral and right in the middle here. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, any questions or anything that you guys have for me? Do you guys use keyboard shortcuts to open positions? I get nervous about using hotkeys. Yeah, I use hotkeys. Derek loves hotkeys. He will crucify you if you don't use hotkeys. Personally, I think you are more than welcome to use whatever you're comfortable with using, but hotkeys certainly are faster. But if your style of trading isn't fast trading, meaning you're buying and you might be selling or you might be stopping out in the next 10 to 20 seconds, then go with whatever you're comfortable with. But I use hotkeys. My hotkeys are very simple. Andrew, if you have my email me and I can email you what I use. But what I use is pretty much what I send. A lot of you guys use my beginner layout that I send you, and that's pretty much what I use. Market buy, market sell, limit buy, limit sell, buy stop, sell stop. That's all I got. That's all I got. I spread them out so I don't hit the wrong key by accident. And yeah, that's it really. So, Andrew, if you want to send me an email, I can send you a better email with a little bit better instructions. But again, use what you're comfortable with. But probably off the open, which is when the market's really speedy and fairly illiquid, and you really got to get your orders in fast, or you might miss your profit taking mark, or you might miss your stop if you don't get your stop in fast enough or something. Definitely good to be using off the open. Let me see if I could go. What can I go over quickly here with you? Let's see. Can I drag this settings? No. Can I drag? So yeah, send me an email, Andrew. But basically, I just got a market buy, a market sell, NASDAQ limit buy, NASDAQ limit sell, buy stop, sell stop. And then for sizing, the sizing works off your level 2, so that's something to really pay attention to and note. The sizing goes off your level 2, not your order entry box. So your order entry box could have 100 shares loaded up in it, but it's going to go off of what your level 2 says. So tier AM1 SPY is loaded up for 100 shares. I can use the numbers on my numpad and change it. I just hit 5, goes to 500. I just hit 0, goes to 1,000. I hit my plus, goes to 5,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. Changes it, but it goes off of your level 2 sizing, not off of your order entry sizing. And then the settings for that is in tier sizes right here. So your hotkey settings is the keyboard tab. Your hotkeys, the sizing is in your tier sizes tab here. Click use numpad to change tier. If you're working on a laptop and not on a full keyboard, you're not going to have this advantage. But then you can set your sizes here. And then when you do your limit buys and your buy stops, you get an order pop-up box that comes up, and you can just adjust increments in the order pop-up section here. So if you shift left and right, it changes it for me by a penny. If I hold shift left and right, changes it by 10 cents. If I hold control, 25 cents. And you can change those increments however you want. I think those are the main 3 settings that you need to be aware of for hotkeys. So your keyboard tab, your tier sizes tab, and your order pop-up tab. So I hope that helps a little bit, Andrew, but feel free to send me email still. Any general thoughts with quarter, monthly, weekly expirations coming up on Friday? Not really, Bill. I feel like we're pretty neutral for positioning and sentiment right now. Like, I don't think we are, coming off a big run to the upside or coming off a big move to the downside. We're pretty in the middle and pretty neutral here. So I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's like huge put positioning or huge call positioning or anything like that would push us one way or the other. So if anything on Friday, I'll probably just expect us to close at some nice whole dollar numbers. But other than that, no, I don't really have any. Not that I don't have thoughts on it, but just I don't really expect, I'm not expecting an up move because there's too many puts out there, or a down move because there's too many calls out there that need to roll one or the other. Not really expecting that. And certainly not trading off that. So, yeah, I don't know, Bill. I mean, maybe you have better thoughts than me, but personally, I just think we're pretty neutral and pretty in the middle here. It feels that, I know yesterday was pretty crazy, but as crazy as yesterday was, we're not below 390. We are still holding this support. If you bought stock on this Thursday that we really nailed this bounce pretty well, you still technically could be in that stock. So yeah, I mean, just the fact that we're pretty neutral and pretty in the middle here, I don't think the OPEX is going to push us one way or the other, personally. But, maybe some more data comes out this week, maybe tomorrow, and, we'll see. But don't really have any thoughts on it. And I don't want to, think about it too much where it would influence my trading. So, we'll see. Probably close at some nice whole dollar numbers on Friday, and that's about it. Yeah, smart to keep them separate from each other. I've hit the wrong button and sold or buy, and it ruins your day. Yeah, so spread them out. Yeah, what Sharir's saying, I agree with. So, personally for me, the way my keyboard is set up is I have, and everyone's different. Sometimes they're all together, sometimes they're spaced out. But my function keys are in groups of 4, and they're spaced out. So I have F1 through F4 in a group, and then a little space, F5 through F8 in a little group, and then a little space, and then F9 for F12. And I basically just use the ends of those spaces. So my market buy is F1, my market sell is F4, and then my limit buy is F5, my limit sell is F8. And even though F4 and F5 are right next to each other, there's a space in between them on my keyboard, so I'm probably not going to hit the wrong key. I don't think I've done that in quite a long time, thankfully. which that's so. I mean, I've definitely done that before. It's never fun to, you know, think you're buying go to buy 1,000 shares and short 1,000 shares. It's obviously not fun, but yeah, space them out however you need to. Is Rivian going without us? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I was worried about that though this afternoon. The way they just built and built and built into that 40. I was definitely worried about that. So if you took it, like I think a couple of you guys did, nice. Definitely don't be afraid to sell some into this, but hopefully they don't gap that up too much against us, because that is certainly setting up well, and we've been patient for this to set up well. So hopefully they don't gap that up too much. Interesting show. Yeah, I don't like the sell all your positions button. I don't agree that that should even exist, cuz I don't know what news could possibly come out where you would just panic sell all your positions. Like, it's one thing if the market drops hard and you have your stops in place and your stops get hit and you sell all your positions because all your stops are getting hit, but panic selling all your positions just doesn't go with the way we trade, which is you have a game plan for everything, you know your worst case scenario for everything, and you just follow your game plan. Game plans don't involve panic selling for whatever reason. Because sometimes you get news and the market downticks on bad news, but your levels hold. And if your level holds, then there's no need to stop out. Just like how this SPY looks like it should break 390, but if you're long SPY or long things from around this 390 area, back on this Thursday here, and you panic sold yesterday, or you panic sold today, but 390 doesn't hold, and say over the next month we build out 390 again and do end up squeezing back up because bears add and add and add, thinking we're gonna break 390 and 390 doesn't break, and positioning gets too bearish, and that's what leads to a squeeze back up. When again, you look like you're supposed to go one way, and then you don't. You usually go the opposite way pretty fastly. So say in a month from now, 390 holds again, we break back up and SPY's back at 415, but you panic sold because you're panicking on news or whatever, but your stop never broke, you're probably kicking yourself. So just, I don't know, panic selling shouldn't ever really happen ever. You should just have your game plan, know your worst case scenario, know what level is supposed to hold, and if it doesn't hold, get out. But if the level holds, then keep holding it. So yeah, I hate that even exists, that sell all positions key. Definitely agree with taking that out of the out of your buttons. Yeah, no problem, Bill. If Jay Powell said a 2% hike is on the table, I mean, I keep seeing people on Twitter reminiscing about, which I certainly wasn't professionally trading during that time, but Volcker, it was in the 80s, right? Volcker in the 80s took interest rates from 11% to 20%. He did 500 basis point hikes. 500. We're talking about 75 to 100. He did 500 basis point hikes. And again, he took rates from 11% to 20%. And what are rates now? Like 3% or whatever, like 2.75. So, I mean, if there was a time for Powell and the Fed to use bazookas, so to say, and hike big, I mean, now's the time to do it. Because I know the rate hikes lag, like, I get that. But the longer this inflation keeps sticking, I mean, it's not good. It's not good. So I know the Fed wants a soft landing, but the Fed also wants inflation to come down, and core inflation month over month just went up again. It just went up. So, I mean, we'll see what Powell does on, it's actually a week from today, September 21st, next Wednesday. A week from today is FOMC. I mean, if there's a time, I mean, and they've been saying that Powell's been studying Volcker, and he's been studying how they tackled inflation back in those 80s days. So, if there's a time for Powell to do it, it's probably now. We'll see if we get 100 bips or not. But it seems like 75 certainly priced in, that's for sure. Any other questions, comments, or anything like that? Otherwise, happy to obviously wrap it up. Not really too much else to talk about here, as again, we got more econ numbers coming tomorrow morning. University of Michigan sentiment Friday morning. And again, I mean, we're holding support. We're below resistance, but we're holding support, which is 390 support, 400 to 402 resistance. I know 400 is a level, but 402 is the real level that we need to clear. So yeah, again, just we're above support, we're below resistance, we're kind of right in the middle here. Personally, I'm waiting for confirmation one way or the other. I'm not taking a shot in the middle here and predicting which way is going to come, because this market changes on a dime like every other day these days. So better to wait for confirmation than to take a shot and have that shot be wrong. And then you're fighting yourself and saying, am I really going to be wrong, or am I getting shaken out, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see. Cool. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Hope you guys made some money today, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning.